News on Vanguard Live. I am Precious Chukudi. We give you the front pages of the papers this morning, starting off with Vanguard. Vanguard is leading with subsidy. NLC shuns meeting with federal government. TUC seeks pay rise. We also have the writer says the NSC writes state council over planned strike. Others full mobilization. Total compliance if. Nationwide blackout loom as electricity workers join NLC's planned strike. TUC's meeting with federal government ends in deadlock to reconvene tomorrow. NUJ rejects a subsidy removal, mobilizes members for nationwide protests. NNPC winds down crude oil swap contracts. That's coming from Akiari. Major independent marketers plan importation. Increase in minimum wage essential, and that's coming from PricewaterhouseCoopers. You can also see a photo story showing subsidy talks. OPEC cuts Nigeria's oil output by 20.7% to 1.38 per barrel daily. You can see that on page 9. On page 10, subsidy. Sanwo-Olu begs NLC to shelve strike. Kogi Guba polls APC Ododo picks primary school teacher as running mate. On page 6, 18 passenger die in Kano auto crash. And on page 8, Senate indicts AGF over failure to recover 910 billion naira short-term loans to MDAs. On page 47, Osimhen among five players likely to replace Benzema. Stories above. Zenith Bank MD emerges best banking CEO in Africa. Bandit kills scores in Zamfara, abducts over 30 girls. Lastly, on the front page of Vanguard newspaper, we have investment expert Eshrey Tinubu's economy plans, make recommendation. You can see that on page 21. All right, let's take a look at the Guardian newspaper. The Guardian is leading with auto gas stalls as NNPC marketers bicker over an 500 billion naira debt prorated fuel costs. The writer says darkness looms as electricity workers may shut down national grid. We can also see on page 6, NLC boycotts a meeting as federal government TUC 6 option out of Wednesday strike. On page 3, why Tinubu has not appointed a spokesperson. Nigeria's broadband penetration drops as telcos lose 2.5 million voice customers. 7 days into second term, Sanwo-Olu yet to make appointments. Yoruba Ronu urges Tinubu to prevent labor union strike. And let's take a look at the Punch newspaper. The Punch is leading with subsidy. NLC shuns a federal government meeting. Electricity workers back strike. The rider says NLC faults a negotiation team. Lagos Nasarawa more state chapter to join strike. TUC demands salary increase. Few importers seek equal access to forex. Also, we can see a photo story showing aides of outgoing members of the National Assembly meeting their personal belongings out of their offices ahead of inauguration of 10th National Assembly scheduled for June 13, 2023 at the National Assembly Complex in Abuja. Also on page 36, OPEC raises Nigeria's output as Saudi Arabia's cuts production. 18 dies in Kano crash. FRC boss warns against overloading. NDLEA seizes 390 kg illicit drugs in 4 states. You can see that on pages 4 and 5. Stories above. PDP wants Tinubu to make asset declaration public. On page 36, trapped funds. Foreign airline plan meeting with federal government. Lastly, on the front page of the Punch newspaper, Senate queries Accountant General over 910 billion naira MDA loans. And that's all we can take on the front pages of the papers. Join us after the break. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back. If you're just joining us today in the news on Vanguard Live, I am Precious Chukudi. Joining me to talk about some of the stories on the front pages of the papers this morning is Mr. Aliu Mohammed, CEO of Magnet Communications, also former editor of Daily Times and Concord newspaper. Good morning, sir. It's good to
Good
have you join
morning,
me this morning.
Precious. How are you?
Very well, thank you. And I mean, we were just talking before now how you've been managing with this removal of a few subsidy and how much you're buying for now, like in terms of your pockets, the chunk of money that fuel is taking from your pocket right now. All right, let's just delve in and talk about NLC, saying that they actually shunned the meeting that was supposed to be held with the federal government officials yesterday, and also the fact that they are asking the federal government to return the petrol price to what it was before May 29th, and also they are also demanding that they want a pay rise to cushion the effect of subsidy removal. What are your thoughts on this?
Precious, you see, there is a reason for all this, and we've been saying this on this channel for years. We've been stressing the need for us to have locally refined petroleum products. Unfortunately, the government did not listen. What I think you will ask me is that how did we get to this stage? I grew up in a Nigeria where we had 4 functioning uh, oil refineries. The refineries are located in Port Harcourt, 2 in Port Harcourt, 1 in Warri, and the 4th one in Kaduna. All through that period till the later days of the military regime, when we had a situation where the turnaround maintenance for those 4 refineries were turned to an avenue to siphon government money, and we ended up with having to import fuel from abroad. That dovetailed into the Obasanjo regime. We all thought that with a civilian government, we will have all the refineries working. Unfortunately, the Obasanjo regime sold the refineries to Dangote and Otedola. The sales was not effective until the Jonathan regime. No, sorry, the late Yaradua regime came in. As soon as he came in, he revoked the sales. And he ordered that the refineries must be put to work. That was on till Yaradua died and Jonathan took over. And importation of petroleum products began in full force. A lot of companies, private companies, got interested in importation of petroleum products because it was a money spinner. You will import 1 million tons and you say it is 2 million tons you have imported, and you get paid without anybody checking the authenticity of your claims. At a point, due to international market forces, the exchange rate of the naira to a dollar went to the rooftop. The dollar was not readily available in the banks, and government had to be paying part of the money for importation. Again, that payment became a source of free money for some few Nigerians who never prayed that the exchange rate will come down. And it went on and on and on and on like that till the man that we all thought was going to redeem Nigeria, General Muhammadu Buhari, took over power, and things became worse. Instead of the situation getting better, it became worse. We discovered that only a few members close to the government had access to this so-called subsidy. A few of them were given license, including NNPC to import petroleum products into Nigeria. Don't forget that the petroleum products that are imported to Nigeria also feeds neighboring countries like Benin Republic, Chad, Niger. So that means that we were paying subsidy for petroleum products that goes to Chad, Niger, and Republic of Benin. All these years, people have been stressing the need for us to have private refineries licensed so that the rate of importation of petroleum products can come down and you create a level playing field for the downstream sector of the petroleum industry that was deregulated, so-called deregulation by Jonathan then. That was never done. How can you say that you have deregulated an industry and government still gives out the prices of products that comes in through that industry? That is not a true deregulation. There must be a level playing field between manufacturers of that product locally and those who want to import. You, Precious, can decide that, look, I want to buy locally refined petrol. I, Aliu Mohammed, can decide that, no, I want to buy imported petrol. It is at your own whims and caprices to make a choice. Like we used to have super and ordinary petroleum grades in those days when we were growing up. But that was never done because a few Nigerians were benefiting from the so-called subsidy. It got to a point in 2021, it was only the NNPC, or it is only the NNPC that is importing petroleum products into Nigeria. The other private companies stopped importing. And when they stopped, it caused a major problem in the country because almost all the filling stations shut down. And NNPC took up that responsibility. And government still continued to tell us that despite the fact that NNPC was the sole government company importing petroleum products into Nigeria, it was still paying subsidy. Paying subsidy to who? To which company? At what rate? If you are using government money to import petroleum products, because NNPC is a government, it remains a government organization. If you are using government money to import petroleum products, then are you paying subsidy to the government or to some unseen forces within the government? These are the questions begging for an answer. We've been talking about it. They said they have deregulated the downstream sector of the petroleum industry. I said, fine, but create a level playing field. Let us have locally refined products. Let us have imported products, and let the people have the choice of buying either locally refined petroleum products or the imported ones. It never happened. Did you listen to the NNPC General Managing Director? He said the government has not paid subsidy since 2022. And from the budget analysis that we got, it was stated that subsidy was being paid monthly in trillions of naira. This is a challenge to the administration of President Bola Tinubu. They must get to the root of this subsidy scam. If they want the support of the people, they truly want the support of the people over the ban on this subsidy regime. I am not saying that it should continue. But before you stop subsidy, let us have locally produced petroleum products. Then let whoever want to import go back to importation. They have started showing interest in going back to importation now because they are also going to make a lot of money. They will come tomorrow and tell you that because the dollar rate is this, we are now, the landing cost of imported products is that. So we are going to sell petrol for 1,000 naira per liter. They will say that. So Where is the interest of the common man here? Where is the interest of the ordinary Nigerian here? So the ban on subsidy payment is okay, but we must have functional refineries. Don't forget that billions of dollars are still being voted for the running of these non-functioning refineries. Who collects those billions of dollars, and for what purpose were they voted? There is a lot of corruption in this system, and every policy of the government, as good as they seem to be, runs against the interest of the poor. It's this ban on subsidy regime is okay by me, but the problem I have is that there is no level playing field yet. We can only get some respite if we have locally produced petroleum products. I grew up to know that all the 4 refineries in Nigeria were working, and we never got to the level of having to import petroleum products into Nigeria until the later days, 1998, 1999, of the military regime. And unfortunately, none of the civilian regimes that we've had have been able to ensure that we have functional refineries. Why? Is there a ghost that is siphoning all the money that should go into the refurbishment of the refineries? Every year we talk about voting billions of dollars for our 4 refineries, and they are not working. They have never worked. The Bola Tinubu regime has done well by removing subsidy. I support it. But that same government must create, I don't know how it is going to do. They say we have Dangote refineries, fine. Dangote thrives in monopoly. That is the truth. He is going to monopolize that industry because government itself has allowed that terrible system to thrive in Nigeria. Imagine government investing billions of dollars in a private organization to achieve what? So Dangote refinery is not going to solve the problem. We had that statement when it was commissioned that it will sell petroleum products at the price at international rates. I read it. So if you see Dangote refinery as a respite to the problems we are having, you are joking. And that will continue to manifest in the coming days.
All right, but let's still, draw it back to what the NLC is saying, what they are demanding for. They want the price to go back to the former price before May 29th, and they're also asking for a pay rise to cushion the effect of
that
subsidy.
is that the price will go back to what it was on May 29 may seem to be an impossibility, but they should fight for a pay rise, and strike is not going to solve that problem. You can talk about a pay rise. Yes, I support it, but strike is not going to solve the problem. Sit down with the government, let them know what you want, and tell them how to go about it. If they don't have an idea of how to go about it, there is enough money in this country if the funds are not stolen to take care of everybody. The President Tinubu himself said that during the swearing-in ceremony, that Nigeria has enough to take care of all Nigerians. But what is happening? You have billions and trillions of naira going into private pockets. Imagine a former accountant general of Nigeria stealing over 9 billion. Or is it 19 billion? What is he going to do with such a large money in a country where the poor people are bleeding daily? They find it difficult to survive. What is one single person going to do with 9 billion? At the twilight of the administration of President Buhari, he requested for so much money, and unfortunately, the rubber stamp National Assembly that we had approved that. That government went away with such an humongous amount of money, which served as a severance benefit for some few people within government. How can we have that kind of a system that doesn't care for the poor. They are not going to be close to the poor. We are the ones very close to the poor. People keep telling me that Buhari is in Daura. Is he in Daura without security men? I saw him moving around to see his kinsmen with hordes of security men. Let him come to Lagos and walk like that and see if he won't be stoned. So let us face the facts and stop scratching the truth on the surface. The people are suffering. Unfortunately, what they did was to allow President Tinubu, he was not there when the budget was compiled. He was not there. They deliberately removed payment of subsidy from the June budget. And the man had no choice but to say it loud and clear that subsidy payment is not part of June budget. So what do you want the man to do? The man has been handicapped by that singular scandalous decision of the past administration of President Buhari. It is unfortunate. I'm happy that we allowed President Muhammadu Buhari to govern us. We thought he was a saint, but his achievements and the activities of his government has proved him to be a total failure, a complete failure.
All right, let's move ahead and talk about this one now. President Tinubu's goal of 100 trillion naira annual GDP in 4 years has come under scrutiny by leading financial and investment firms, as some of them have said that they've described it as ambitious and unrealistic. What do you think about that?
Well, it is difficult to say that it is unrealistic. If he wants that goal to be realistic, he must chase after stolen funds. We have billions and trillions of naira and dollars that belongs to government in private hands. There was a young man in President Buhari's villa then, Tunde Sabiu. The guy is no more in Nigeria. That guy controlled billions of naira. He had his wife in Lagos and he was coming to Lagos in the rented private jets every week. Where did he get that money? I learned that boy was a recharge card seller. He became so rich because he's close to Buhari. And as of today, that young man has left Nigeria. The government ensured that he got an international appointment outside Nigeria before the end of the Buhari administration. Look at what is going on in the aviation industry. One minister has taken so much money away from that ministry and is trying to cover himself up. Look at this scam surrounding the Nigerian Air project. You rented an Ethiopian airline plane, painted it in Nigerian color, and brought it to Nigeria. That is Nigerian Air, forgetting to erase the number, ET, whatever there. And nobody is talking about that. If we probe and get into the root of all that, the money with which the Tinubu government can realize that the so-called ambitious dream will be there to spend.
All right. So what sectors do you think that this administration needs to focus more on to get desired result that they expect?
Like I said, we must chase after stolen funds. All the subsidies that have been paid into private pockets must be brought back to government coffers. 2, oil theft. He talked about that. You and I cannot buy badges, precious. We can't, because badges come in thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars. But our crude oil are being stolen on the ICs, and we have the Navy, we have the Air Force, we have soldiers, we have Nigerian police, we have the office of the NLC. All of them they are looking at the massive theft of Nigerian oil. If we are able to curb that, we will save a lot of money in dollars, because those oil are stolen in dollars. They caught some badges. What I expected when they were caught was that incident will be investigated. But you know what our military men did? They burnt the badges. So how do you get to the root of that theft? And government kept quiet. That means there must have been an instruction from above burn the badges so that you cannot conduct any investigation. A serious government will not allow those badges to be burnt. You want to get to the root of the theft of the crude oil that was seized. So if we are able to eliminate the theft of, because the only product we have to sell in Nigeria today is crude oil. And if we have that kind of over 40% theft of the crude oil, that means the source of income for Nigeria is being reduced. So if we can save a lot of money if we are able to check the theft of our crude oil, then government should encourage exportation. All the processes for exportation should be relaxed. The processes are too tough. I want to send goods to London from Nigeria. I have to go through this agency. I have to obtain a permit from the Ministry of Trade. And all the civil servants in those government agencies, we extort money from you. To get things out of the Murtala Mohammed International Airport, you have to pay bribes. All those processes will have to be eliminated. For the common man who want to export crayfish to London, for the common man that want to export snails to London, for the common man that want to export gari to London, then earn some foreign exchange. You are boosting the economy of Nigeria if you allow exports, apart from we importing toothpicks, importing everything that we need. So government must be decisive in checking the leakages in this country. Oil theft, that one is number one. When Michael Giadome was the chief of staff to President Jonathan, I flew with him to that part of the country where they call IC. You need to see the level of theft going on with naval officers, military men involved. We saw them from the top. We thought things were going to change, but unfortunately, it didn't change. It's still the same business as usual. That means those guys are reporting to somebody upstairs. So I have gone as far as saying this because I want the government to know the areas that they have to focus on if they want to realize that gigantic ambition.
All right, let's take a look at this one now. The Senate has also indicted the Office of the Accountant General of the Federation over its refusal to repay short-term loans given to MDAs from special funds account totaling up to 910 billion naira. And according to what they've observed, they've said that that there was continuous abuse of the special funds by the executive, as the money is always used for a different thing entirely. How do we checkmate these,
Precious,
issues on this?
you said it that there have been mismanagement of those funds, that funds that are supposed to be used for a purpose have been used for other purposes that is different from what the money was meant for.
Yeah.
These are things that government should stop. I was at the airport to pick up my younger brother on Sunday morning, and you needed to see the level of corruption, custom officers demanding dollars openly from people. It is embarrassing, it is disturbing. There was a government that came in, I think during Jonathan regime or Buhari's administration, that there was this policy of foreigners getting into Nigeria without any difficulty. The situation is terrible at the international airport, Precious. People demanding for dollars, even at the car park. Happy Sunday, sir, from almost 10 people. Happy Sunday, sir. Happy Sunday, sir. Everybody is looking at an opportunity. They are looking for an opportunity to rip off those who are coming into the country. It is not good for this country's image, for God's sake. It is embarrassing that we have people who are after money from immigrations to customs to this NDLA and NAFDAC. So many agencies there. You are passing from one agency to the other. If they must stamp your passport to come in, you hear all sorts of demands. It's embarrassing. Government should look at all this. It's a big dent on the image of the country. As we call ourselves the giant of Africa, I believe that other countries have taken over that name. Go to Rwanda, that fought a genocide that had a genocide over 25 years ago. They are better for that country. They are better for that crisis now. And here in Nigeria, we visit other parts of the world, African countries. It is not as bad. We must redeem the image of this nation, because we have people that are denting the image of this nation from the airports to the seaports. If you import a car now, God help you if that car is not containerized. Personally, if you can't pay for a container, you get that car will get to Nigeria in a bad shape, because they would have stolen major things from that car. It is not good for the image of this country. Government should call all the agencies involved and let them redeem the image of this country for God's sake, at least for the first time.
All right, so let's take a look at Mr. and Mrs. Says, Mr. is speaking, says, prices of things have gone up.
Of
Is that
course
why
it-
you want extra money? Things are not as hard as you're painting it. And Mrs. reply, if things are not as hard, why are you shouting?
Things are hard. That's the truth of the matter. I just said it. Things are hard. I bought fuel yesterday. I had to pay 30,000. I bought 30 liters for my car. That was, I think, no, 40, 20,000, and another 20 for generator. 40,000. That's what wouldn't have cost me up to 15 or 20,000 before. So I have to readjust my spendings. I had to readjust my movements. Sometimes I thought yesterday that, look, young man, you have to start working from home. You don't go to the office every day anymore. We are going to have a lot of retrenchments if you want companies to survive. Many companies will retrench. Go and take note of that. Because no company will be paying increased salaries and not making money, and you expect that company not to retrench. We are going to have a lot of retrenchment if government doesn't take a decisive step to check and ensure that there is an increase in salary of at least government workers. If you can't control the private sector, there must be an increment. If no government official whose salary is not increased at this stage will work without stealing. You are encouraging massive looting of government money by not increasing salary, because an average civil servant that is in a position to steal will steal to ensure that he survives this very hard situation.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Ali Mohammed, CEO of Magnet Communications, also former editor of Daily Times and Concord Newspaper. Thank you for sharing your thought with us this morning.
You are most welcome.
Also, remember that you can equally like, share, and subscribe on all our social media platforms showing on your screen. To find out up-to-date stories, go to our website, www.vanguardindia.com, to find out more. I am Precious Chukudi, and thank you for